and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
Mm-hmm.
That shit was annoying to me. She was very annoying to me.
She was annoying?
Yeah.
My God.
Super stupid response. Like, one, I think that her response was dickheaded and I don't care for it at all. But what I saw was a lot of people being like, oh, you go, girl. Tell them. Like, you should put some respect on her name. And I'm like, y'all are fucking morons. She's a fucking politician whose job is to put policy in place that keeps babies from getting murdered, puts money in our pockets, makes it so we can feed our fucking kids. I don't give a fuck about her being like a powerful, charming authority that people don't try up. What the fuck are we talking about? Absolutely not. Do your fucking job. Like, just slightly less bad than Trump is not a qualification. I don't care. Because I think when we take, like, cult of personality, MAGA approaches to politicians that a lot of people who are voting for Trump are, and we try and apply it to what our values are, what we end up getting is a politician who maybe says some of the right things, is maybe charming, and then goes back to blowing up babies, putting our people in prison, fucking making it to where we can't feed our families just the same, but with a slightly different aesthetic. If we're in 2028 and we're all still poor, hungry, being killed by police officers, but we got a black woman in office and she says the right things and she's really charming, that's dangerous. And I think responding to her dismissing protesters who were trying to pressure her to, in this case, put an arms embargo in place, it's
a red flag.
You in there, bro.
I will say I do want to get waves at some point. That's a thing that's been on my goals list. But I don't know whether or not my
Will your hair wave?
I don't know. I've never attempted.
Actually, yeah, we were on the same page, but I don't know.
No, his hair.
I don't know, man.
His hair would
I
wave.
don't know.
No, his hair would wave, like, definitely, because his hair would absolutely wave. You just gotta go to one of those barbers that, because like niggas can get waves in like one haircut now. With the technology these motherfucking barbers got, like the product they use,
bioengineering.
They cut it all the way down, put the product on there, put a do-rag on that motherfucker, then blow dry it, and then like brush that shit, brush it, and then do some other shit, cut it, and then brush it, and then all of a sudden a nigga got waves.
We've got a little bit of motion in various cities. I think we could definitely do some food collabs and bring some foot traffic to folks who need, I think we could bless some people. You know what I'm saying? I think we have that capacity, especially in the future, With that being said, welcome everybody to Waving the Red Flag, the #1 chicken wing podcast in the universe, the home of the Buffalo Dry Wing. You can't get it anywhere else but the WTRF wing shop.
We check.
What are we talking about?
We talking about everything, man. The Olympics, politics, daughters fucking like the neighbors.
That's the one I want to talk about. Not that.
Oh, no, that's
like
the one
specific. That specific.
No, I got some thoughts
Reddit
on this.
post.
Yeah.
Not that I want to speak about that as a concept.
Shit. What? Yeah. And they are of age, of course.
I know. Fucking Craig David over here. He's like, what's wrong with fucking
Who's Craig David? So I understand how mad
what's
to
wrong
be
with fucking the locals,
at that joke. What?
A lot of stuff happened at one time there. I'm confused.
Yeah, me too. I got lost.
Right. I did my joke in the midst of you doing your thing.
Yeah, I think The ways canceled each other out. You can go. No, do your joke, Josh. Go again.
Oh no, I said it. It was just to piggyback off of what Alvin was, giving you the old business for. When I said a long time ago, what's wrong with fucking the locals?
Last week, I caught my daughter, 21, leaving our neighbor's house early in the morning. I was getting a drink around 3 in the morning, and I watched her leave their house, and she snuck across the yard and went through our basement door. Our neighbor is married and probably 30. I assume his wife was gone for the night as her car wasn't there. The next morning, I went down to my daughter's room and confronted her. At first, she denied it, but she eventually said that she had been sleeping with him for a couple of months. I lost it at that point, and I yelled at her, telling her he is married and she is helping to ruin a marriage. I told her that she needs to tell the wife or she needs to move out. She's clearly upset and thinking I'm overreacting. My wife is also thinking I'm going too far. I get that the neighbor is the main issue, but I'm really disappointed in my daughter. She knows his wife and has even babysat for them. Is telling her to confess or move out too far? Edit. For those of you who think she would stop talking to us if we kicked her out, I raised her to be independent and accept consequences for her own actions. It's hard to explain our relationship, but I know she wouldn't stop talking to us if we did force her to move. She would live out of our house, not our life.
Okay, so what's the question? Like, I mean, like, is it an am I the asshole?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, hell no. What? I mean, no.
You think so?
I mean, come on. I mean, like, for one, like one question that was never one question I don't think was ever answered was exactly how old is the daughter?
21.
Sounds like she's
21.
Oh, okay, it was answered.
Yeah.
A convenient age. I don't believe it.
In what sense?
I believe she might be a little bit older and just staying at home. I don't know. I think they might have just fluffed it up a little bit. But
so you think she's actually older than that?
Possibly. Or maybe like 19 or some shit. I don't know. But I'm just
younger.
Yeah, I know.
Wait, what kind of math are you doing?
Yeah, I hit you with the old Zazu.
Okay.
Keep you on your toes, buddy. But ultimately, in all seriousness, I don't think he's the asshole. Like, for how he reacted, that's some. No. I mean, at the end of the day, no father wants to see their daughter be the other woman, especially to like your neighbor, because that's just messy as fuck. Don't sit up here and try to justify, because we all know that that's some messy ass shit. Like, I mean, you can justify it, please, but I'm just saying that's some super messy shit.
No, yeah, look, of course, I get. I guess for me, I'm like, which things are we trying to, like, what are we trying to accomplish here? Because to me, I don't even necessarily 100% disagree, but just like at the onset, being furious at your daughter for being the babysitter that your married neighbor fucks is weird to me. That's a weird initial approach to this situation.
I don't think so at all. But yeah, please.
That seems very like I'm not saying she is a victim, but it seems very like it seems very Jerry Springer, like blaming your young daughter for being a whore type shit instead of being like mostly going and addressing the neighbor. I'm not saying that she's not on fuck shit and isn't grown enough to know better or at the very least to be held accountable for negative bad behaviors, but she literally babysits for them and was fucked by the neighbor. Like, that to me is, I would just have more questions before I would go to fury. That's weird as hell to me.
That's the first thing. I mean, like, yeah, like, excuse me, when you find that out though, because I can't blame him for like his first thought being anger, because like, what are you thinking? Like, you fucking the husband, like, you fucking this man, and you know they're married and they are our neighbors. What?
Fury would not be my.
You don't think that's weird?
I'm not saying like, okay, excuse me. Let me bring it down. I'm just not mad or just like, oh my God, I can't believe he got mad. And I mean, I don't know what his fear looks like. It could have just been him blowing a gas, like, God damn it, how could you do this, Sabrina? That could have been his fury. I don't fucking know.
I would have questions and concern before I would.
Yeah, for sure. But I cannot blame him for like being upset, because like there's also a thing like, God damn, like, this was a really bad judgment call. Like, this was a bad decision. Like, this was not it. This is not it. And you having this conversation for all parties involved, nigga, like, oh, what the fuck you mean? Like, excuse me, what do you mean for who? For all parties involved, this is a bad decision. What are you doing?
There's
you
degrees.
played your hand in this. You were not raped. You were not forced. You were not coerced. Like, y'all met at a bar and y'all hit it off and then started fucking. Like, that was what was in the story.
Yeah.
I think this is a bad life decision. Like going to DeVry is a bad life decision. Like, this is a bad life decision. Like,
well, relative to what?
Like getting but that's my point exactly, right? I think it can be viewed as a bad life decision relative to a lot of bad life decisions, but like escalating to the point where in my rage of whatever you think she deserves in terms of admonishment or talking to, like, I'm going to kick you out of the house. This does not raise to that level for me. This raises to like I'm kind of bewildered on why you made that decision as the daughter I raised, who maybe you know, I raised to have a certain level of scruples about how you navigate these kind of like interpersonal relationships in terms of not shitting where you eat kind of situations. Like this person lives next door to us, but oh, I'm gonna kick you out if you don't confess to the wife. I'm gonna kick you out. That just seems like a gross overreaction to me. In any context.
And he gives in more of the video, because I did watch this whole thing and there's more bits of information, but he does give like he paints a picture of like that being a more tempered of like, oh, I'm not saying like I'm gonna kick her out on the street, but more like she needs to get an apartment and we would help and like those kinds of things. Like, and then it, to me, became a little bit
her out of the house, not out of our lives.
Yeah, like not disowning her, and that to me made it a little bit more like what you're trying to do is like quarantine this situation of like you're not gonna be fucking my neighbor from my house. Like you're not gonna use my house as a base of operations to fuck the neighbor who's married. That's wild. You can live somewhere else, and I can't really stop you. You're a grown woman, but doing like bouncing between like the direct neighbor to like ruin that marriage, and then I have to. Then the wife is coming to our house, and then it's all like you said, messy. Cool, you need to live somewhere else if you're going to continue that behavior. That doesn't seem entirely unreasonable to me, but to me, I'm like making the whole thing primarily your daughter instead of like why are we not confronting the husband and being like, yo, you need to talk to your like I would go to the husband and be like, yo, you need to tell the wife or I will. Or something like that. That's what would be at the top of my list. Not like, oh, my daughter needs to confess to the wife and admonish her sins, or I'm gonna kick her out. Like that's just all of that felt very weird, slut shamey, victim blamey, adjacent type shit to me.
I don't see no.
It felt very Puritan.
Yeah,
it felt very Puritan, middle America values. Like my daughter doing this is like the world's worst thing ever. Like.
And the man somehow isn't responsible for his like it
no
felt
one ever
very
said the man wasn't responsible. No one ever said that he was not responsible.
But the way that it's being and so which is part of but I'm like, but we're only talking about her. And which to be sure it's his daughter, but that's kind of my point. It's like there's two people in this and he's choosing and we're choosing to talk about his daughter. Or 3 people, 4 people, however many, people involved.
Yeah, I mean, but like that's the thing. Because so say for instance, like you notice this shit. Like, what the fuck is my daughter doing? Like, what are you doing? Oh my god,
she's fucking the neighbor.
She's fucking the neighbor. They married. What you gonna keep that shit in the family? Because at the same time they have actually stated within the story, it's like there's an element of like a home is being broken up. And then, okay, well, what do we do? I, as a parent, as a loving, caring, genuine parent, I don't agree with how we try to throw him being a parent to his daughter that they clearly love each other, but this is just a fucked up situation. And his daughter did indeed have a lot of agency in it. Not saying it's all on her, but you can't act like she just was. Oh, I tripped and fell on his dick like for months on end. Just don't know how on earth I kept ending up here. It's
dynamics though. Like it's just dynamic. Like literally, this is he fucked the babysitter, dog. That don't at least make you go, hold on, wait a minute, a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought that was just stated. Like that was obvious. Like at least that was my thought.
Nope, I'm not seeing it being obvious.
Yeah, because like guess what? Because the thing for one, the big thing of the matter is once that shit gets out, it's gonna be over for your marriage, and you still that dirt you was doing is gonna get brought to light. So you about to catch whatever punishment is coming you from that, regardless, because you still got to be held accountable for your actions as the guy that was cheating on his wife. So like in terms of the outcome, it don't matter if I say you need to tell your wife, or my daughter is gonna tell your wife, or I'm gonna tell your wife. It's like no, well. I mean, there could be like a little bit playing that, but at the end of the day, if I'm having a conversation with my daughter, you living in my house, this nigga live right across the street from us. His wife is sweet as shit. You know both of them. What are you doing? Like, I gotta like. Why is it?
If all of that is happening, and all those points that you made about the outcome is going to be the same, why are we even doing this like? Batman hanging you by your ankles off the side of a building. Tell me the truth. Just go tell the wife. Like, why are we even doing all this back and forth? Like, gambits of tricks, and if you don't do this, then I'll like just go tell the wife and blow the whole situation.
So it could have been like a different case of am I the asshole? I caught my daughter cheating with the neighbor, so I took it upon myself to go tell the wife without talking to my daughter, and then you would have been sitting up here saying, how could you be such a fucked up father and not talk to your daughter about it and see what she wanted to do?
Well, now you're making up scenarios and then creating my opinion. I didn't say that. You
didn't, but I can definitely see you. I can definitely see you flip flopping in that direction.
Okay,
though,
but what would you say? Because this is the argument you're making. That's not even. I'm saying go tell him, but like you're saying that would.
I'm having the conversation with my daughter.
But you think it would be wrong to go just tell just be like, yo, my daughter is and your husband are having an affair, by the way.
I'm having a conversation with because that's my home base. I got to figure out this first. This explosion that's going on right here. This is my daughter. This is my responsibility as a parent. She's living under my roof. I have to figure like what's going on here. I'm not saying that he should not have talked to her like he did later on during the story and got her side, how she was feeling, what she was going through. Does not make anything that she did right. But hey, there was a little bit more context. But I'm still trying to talk to my daughter and figure out, okay, what we gonna do? Because this sort of behavior, like I don't want you. That's not cool.
What's the goal?
It's also kind of like, again, like. I would imagine that most people have a son that is cheated on a baby mama, on a girlfriend, that the father, the mother, the sisters, the aunties know, and they may be disappointed, but they never come at them sideways for that kind of behavior. So I'm not saying that I think it's necessarily wrong to have a conversation with your child in those regards about how they're handling themselves. But what I'm saying is the level of vitriol and anger and fury, paraphrasing him, in which we come at these situations with daughters is indicative of something that I feel like is more deep-seated in terms of control and how we police women's body and whole shaming and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying I wouldn't be angry, but I'm just saying like I'm more bewildered. Again, I'm more bewildered about why you're shitting where you eat and not like this whole like, oh my God, my daughter's cheating. Like, because again, no, like
she's
not saying you just, but most people are not coming at their sons with that same energy because they understand that while that behavior is bad, it does negatively impact a lot of people. I would argue that it negatively impacts the person that partakes in the behavior. They understand it's not the end of the world. It's not. I'm sorry.
On top of that, I would also say, like with the shitting where you eat thing, if your daughter was fucking the neighbor and he wasn't married, would that be an issue at all, or would that be a different kind of an issue? Or
I think that'd be like a much less of an issue. You might not like it because again, kind of shitting where you eat.
Yeah,
but it's like, yo, how,
if he if he wasn't married, it's not a problem at all.
Yeah, that's what I kind of. It's a little like I think it is potentially can become a problem because it becomes awkward when they break up or whatever the fuck, and it's still my neighbor and still my daughter, but. At the end of the day, I'm like,
but then again, too, like, you might mowing, y'all out mowing you mowing your grass, and then you got to look across the street knowing this 30-year-old beating your daughter's cheeks in. That ain't, hey, fuck you, nigga.
You're on your little John Deere.
The fuck? I mean, look.
But that's just life.
Like I don't control
shit,
nobody,
you know
but I don't mean I gotta fucking like it or agree.
Exactly. Yeah, fair enough.
I ain't gonna be like. I was like, man, like that ain't it. This ain't it. Like, why you gotta shit? Yeah, move. Get an apartment.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm just gonna see your car parked across the street
all the time.
Yeah.
And you may as well come in and have some dinner. Well, anyway, you want to sleep here tonight? By the way, if you're not gonna sleep at the neighbors, and then now she just live here again. So it's like
all ratty and shit.
Yeah.
Clothes wrinkled.
Hair all
oh my God, I worked up quite the sweat.
Someone's been exercising. Raise them right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so if the other thing is, if she were younger, like, because I think again, I'm not saying 21 ain't grown, but I'm just wondering if the younger she gets, is it still anger or does it become something else? Because to me, again, 21, grown enough, fair enough, but the whole like. Young daughter fucking older man and young daughter getting blamed as like the evil party or the more evil party just triggers off like a narrative and an imagery that kind of speaks to all of the shit that Alvin was saying for me. So I'm just if his daughter was 18, 19, or 17, 16, then is there still some amount of anger, or is
that's why I was like a real convenient age?
Yes, it is. It is, because it's right. It's you
know, you just you can buy your own liquor now, huh? And this guy's 30.
That makes it less bad, right?
I mean, yeah.
What?
Because he's not buying her, like, she's not young. No, less bad than if she were younger.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, she was like, say for instance, she was like 19. I'm gonna have a bigger issue with that. And then I'm like, I'm really gonna be looking at this nigga like a minor, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta, you know.
So she comes home. You see her from the window, come home. Your daughter walks in. What's the response?
Hey, yo, what the fuck is going on? Like, what, babe, sweetie, what? You fucking the neighbor? Be honest with me. You can talk to me. Please don't tell me you fucking the neighbor. Are you? Please. What's going on? Yes? Oh, my God. I thought I taught you not to shit where you eat.
Shit elsewhere.
What could have, baby, sweetie, what led you to, what happened?
Bringing it down.
What is he manipulating you? Like, is he forcing you to do some shit? No, daddy. No. What happened? Like, what's the situation? Like, talk to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it ain't gonna be like, oh my God. It ain't, I'm sorry. I'm probably not gonna be Mr. Rogers. Hello, neighbor.
I'm sorry. I can't keep it together with Josh doing this fucking one man show fucking skit shit.
Why the fuck would you, sweetie, my darling, my love, yes. Just
gotta
talk
do some
to me.
shot,
Explain
reverse
it to me. God
shot,
damn it!
kind of bullshit.
Just talk to
me.
He just got
fucking Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, fucking bad shit that he's doing.
You know, I'm good cop and bad cop.
Yeah. I know. I was scared.
You know, it's fear with love. You know, love and fear. Mostly love, though.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we got. Unless anybody got any other points there. I think I insulted my boyfriend is the Reddit post. And then this dude who's like he studies human mating behavior kind of guy. He's collabed with some of our collaborators, and he breaks down his thoughts on the science of why this might be a thing. So anyway, I think I destroyed our relationship trying to compliment my boyfriend. My boyfriend and I are both 28 years old and together for 2.5 years. Yesterday night, we were drinking, and one thing led to another, and I tried to compliment him by saying he was not someone who I would hook up with or be a friends with benefits with, but marry. I thought everything was fine, but he seemed extremely distraught after that. I realized how he understood it and tried to clarify it, but he is still the same this morning. He told me he needs space to think for a while and left the house. All my friends tell me I messed it up, and guys tell me it's not a compliment, and most men will understand it differently. I think I destroyed our relationship, and I am panicking right now. Y'all want to hear Mac's take first, or just go straight into it? It's your choice.
I would love to hear his take first.
Josh,
if there are no objections.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I tried to compliment him by saying he is not someone who I would hook up with, but marry. He seemed extremely distraught after that. Women online seem to generally think that this was the highest of compliments, whereas men found what she said quite insulting, including the boyfriend. I'm a scientist studying human mating behavior, and I think some evolutionary theory might be helpful here. Humans are co-parenting, pair-bonding mammals. And so for women, being designated as just a hookup would often be insulting, because it's basically a threat that she could end up pregnant without paternal support. Whereas for men, being just a hookup does not entail the same risk, and so it might even be flattering. On the other side, pregnancy means that women are always sure that their offspring is theirs, whereas for men, they generally just have to trust. And so men have this unique and often overwrought anxiety about being just an investor unwittingly to someone else's offspring, which is a fear that a woman would never have to experience. So she says, I don't see you as a hookup, which is a sort of compliment men won't typically relate to. And he interprets that as, oh, so you just see me as an investor, which is an insult women generally couldn't relate to. You almost couldn't script it better if you wanted the genders to not be able to understand each other. Now, for what it's worth, I think it's possible the guy misinterpreted what his girlfriend was saying here, right? Like I could read this and think, I wouldn't just want to hook up with you, right? I'd want that and more, which would be a compliment to anyone, but maybe I'm being too optimistic.
Yeah, I think that's a good breakdown.
Absolutely. I've talked a lot. Someone else go.
You can talk. It averages out across. I done talked plenty on this podcast. It averages out, I'm sure. Please.
Indeed.
Go.
I've wholeheartedly understand what a boyfriend is coming from. Like that's not the compliment that you want to hear.
No.
that's not a compliment that you want to hear. Like some guys will I think there's a lot of guys that will understand the meaning behind it, and then like take, I appreciate it, but that's not gonna make them flutter on the inside. Like,
No.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. So, but because everyone wants to be like have that desire,
that animalistic desire.
You know, like, yo, I would fuck you in a heartbeat. If I saw you. There's something about you that turns me on, because it's the same thing that men do to women all the time too. When we try to compliment them and our compliments don't land.
Yeah.
But if we think if someone said that to me, I'd be over the moon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
See, I think if she had said like just like I wouldn't see you as just, then it would have worked. If she's like, no, I want to fuck you as much as a hookup, but I could never be just friends with benefits or just a hookup with you because I would want more. Then I think that works. I think that's a compliment to everybody. But I think this even like I'm struggling to see how women don't see it as an insult. And I guess part of it is because women is a relationship to men, all the things that Mackin said. But also I think women's relationship to men is that like men generally want to fuck. So you're not as questioning of whether or not a man desires you sexually, because they kind of all sort of vaguely sort of do. So if a guy says, oh, I don't see you as a hookup, I see you as wifey material, he's not saying I don't want to fuck you. But if he said something that implied that, if he was like, oh, I didn't really find you sexually attractive when I first met you, but our personalities really jigged and I really could see like us building a romantic relationship, every woman on the planet sees that as an insult. So
I think I don't disagree with either of you. I do think on some level what I have done, and I think most men who are successful in relationships, and I think Mackin kind of hints at this, is that you kind of have to learn, and Josh hinted at it too, you kind of have to learn how to speak the language of the people that you're trying to like date on some level, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have to learn how to read between the lines in order to make that successful. And that's kind of what being in a long-term relationship is. You kind of, it's on some level have to meet them where they are and understand what they mean when they say certain things. And so while it may not make your heart flutter, it shouldn't necessarily make you like angry on a visceral level, because it's kind of like on some level you're like, I know what you mean by that. Like I don't personally like think that was particularly romantic. I don't particularly like it, but I'm also not angry because I know that you're doing what you do in the way that you do it. And I think women do that a lot with men, and I know men do it a lot with women, just because again we, to the point of the scientists studying this, we have different communication styles. We look at things differently. We have a different worldview based on socialization and on some level biologically, though not much. But so I do think on some level you got to meet people where they are. But I don't disagree with either of you.
Yeah, and I think that part of it is like meeting people where they are is learning to communicate so that they can understand you. And I think that I always emphasize that a burden there.
I think it's
a
both.
heavy burden.
I think it's both.
It is both. There's a heavy burden on the communicator to communicate effectively to the person listening. There's also a burden on the listener, but I think that that's slightly lesser. In a situation specifically like this, it's not just about did she mean well. I think the thing that makes this an insult and makes this where I'm very sympathetic with him is that I think oftentimes these like poorly communicated insult compliments that men and women give to one another, because men do it all the time. They're like, she's not the prettiest girl in the world, but we work together. Yeah. And then everybody gets riled up on Twitter. The fucking Simone Biles, Jonathan Biles, it's all the same shit. Yeah. I think that a lot of times these bad compliments are actually indicative of beliefs about the relationship that are a problem. Like if your girl is like, yo, I don't find you that hot, but you tick all the boxes, that is a reason for you to be upset and maybe reassess the relationship. So if I'm him, I'm going, I could read this generously, but my goal is to read it honestly. How do you actually feel about me? Because I don't want to be with somebody who doesn't deeply desire me sexually. No, thank you. So that's where I would come from.
That's one
which I think is fair. I think that's fair. I think it's more of like a let's have a conversation and not
figure it out.
Yeah. Like let's have a conversation. Let's figure it out.
I mean, but what does that conversation look like? Because if at the end of the day somebody attracted to you, they're not like turned on just by you like physically, like aesthetically. But there's like the things that they really like about you, like your character, your morals, how you treat them, how you make them feel, that really make them really love you and make their coochie get wet. But just looking at you in the morning is not doing it for me per se. Like, you know what I mean? Because that and again, like I know I was bullshitting like when we first started out the live, but like it's a it's a true statement, because like when you tell somebody the truth, you gotta be careful with it, because it's a thin line between just telling somebody the truth and just being outright cruel.
Yes.
Like, what is the purpose of telling somebody the truth? Like, are you telling them the truth to give them strength? Oh no, are you telling them the truth to negatively discourage them at a time when they need strength, even though it's the truth? Or are you telling them the truth out of, like, you know, love, compassion, or something? I can't remember, something like that. But yeah, man. We definitely gotta. I think we. Yeah, I agree with both of you. I mean, at the end of the day, because in terms of just learning how people talk, like learning how to talk to your person, or like just men, just in general, really figuring out how to communicate men versus women, because like we're so much alike that our slight differences, it just seems like a chasm that is just so difficult to cross. And like, I don't understand this shit, but we don't communicate that well with one another all the time.
We're shockingly
like,
similar.
And like, I think when you really want to cultivate a relationship, you do certain things. So like, for example, I have a good female friend, and when I'm going through something, like I'll say like, oh, I'm dealing with this or whatever, and her response sometimes, you know, if it's newer territory or murkier territory, she was like, how would you like me to be there for you in this circumstance? What do you want this to look like? And I'm like, that's, I remember the first time she said it, and I was like, that was an amazing thing to do for me. So I appreciate that. So I do think there's some level of that. And I also think there's a huge factor of knowing what your partner values in themselves and how you interact with them in terms of their truth, right? So if you're a person like Eddie who values the aesthetic, both internally and with the person that they are,
fair enough.
I would never approach them in a way that tries to denigrate something that's salient to how they maneuver through life and how they maneuver through relationships, right? So I think that Josh has a super poignant point in regards to how that should guide our interaction. But there are also certain people that I don't give a shit. Like you could say 100%, Alvin, I didn't think you were that attractive, and you just ticked all these boxes, and I think that you're phenomenal husband material. And I'd be like, wow, that was absolutely phenomenal. Thank you.
Great. Yeah.
So I think you just I think that goes back to the ultimate point for me, is like, just know how to interact with your person. But if a person is interacting with you in a way that you don't like, I think that's worthy of further conversation, because that is a part, to Eddie's point, of being in a good relationship. Like you have to communicate with me in a way that protects my salient value.
Yeah.
And vice versa, of course.
It's like with the gift giving shit, because when people do that shit where they're like, you're dating a fucking neuroscientist, and she's like, why are you with me? And you're like, because that ass was fat. She might not take it as a fucking compliment. Like, this is basic shit. So you gotta compliment people on the things that they value about themselves. I mean, sometimes you can go left or right of that to show them appreciation for things that maybe they are unconfident about, or things that they didn't think to appreciate. But if you're going for the obvious shit of like, oh yeah, you provide value to me in ways that don't feel like your core identity, all men and all women view that as an insult. This is basic shit. Yes. We're more similar than we're different. Like, just, if it was you, how would you feel? Bad? Okay. It ain't that complicated. I mean, it is complicated, but it ain't that complicated.
It's difficult.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Did y'all see Kamala telling them the people saying, hey, stop blowing up the babies, and she was like, hey, shush, children.
Yes.
Or Mr. Trump's gonna win. I'm speaking. I am speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Be quiet.
If you want to vote for him,
then just say that.
Just say that.
But I am speaking right now.
And he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that. Otherwise, I'm speaking.
That shit was annoying to me. She was very annoying to me.
She was annoying?
Yeah.
My God.
Stupid response. Like,
thank you, Josh. Because I'm gonna say, so first of all, I'm gonna say that I thought her response was bad. But I remember specifically when Andre Dickens was giving a talk and there were protesters about it. And I'm in a room of younger black people, probably ages 25 to maybe late 30s. And all of them, you know, from the Atlanta area. And they're all like, there's no fucking way these protesters would be doing me like that. That's some bullshit. Like, so what I think a lot of people don't understand is how there's a huge set of people across every racial, age, academic demographic that view decorum as important.
And they're dumb and wrong.
And again, yeah, so I don't disagree.
That's why Eddie liked Trump.
So while I think the way she handled that, while I think the way that she handled that was piss poor, and I think that the way you handled that is via a level of engagement.
Yep.
I think
she redid it. She redid it later and got it right.
When she redid it, she got it right.
We're here to fight for our democracy. Which includes respecting the voices that I think that we are hearing from. And let me just say this on topic of what I think I'm hearing over there. Let me just speak to that for a moment, and then I'm going to get back to the business at hand. So let me say, I have been clear. Now is the time to get a ceasefire deal and get...
But what I think a lot of people on the internet spheres don't understand is that when you talk to regular everyday people don't have a biggest problem with the way she handled that as a lot of sects of the internet do. To Josh's point, because like when Josh said that, I was like, yes, that's probably more indicative of a lot of other people's response than say like mine or what I gather is Eddie's.
Because that's what I'm responding to. Like one, I think that her response was dickheaded, and I don't care for it at all. But what I saw was a lot of people being like, "Oh, you go, girl. Tell them. Like, you should put some respect on her name." And I'm like, y'all are fucking morons. She's a fucking politician whose job is to put policy in place that keeps babies from getting murdered, puts money in our pockets, makes it so we can feed our fucking kids. I don't give a fuck about her being like a powerful, charming authority that people don't try up. What the fuck are we talking about? Absolutely not. Do your fucking job. Like, just slightly less bad than Trump is not a qualification. I don't care.
And also, she has great examples of how you handle those conversations, right? Yeah. So a lot of people haven't watched a lot of Barack Obama outside of like the highlights, but Barack Obama is fucking phenomenal in those instances. Yeah. Fucking amazing.
I mean, he's got great comedic timing. Like he
can command the room. Can command the room in a sea of protest. Can command the room in a sea of hostile like town hall situations. The nigga is a master. Yes. So like, if I'm in those situations, I would be watching every fucking William Jefferson Clinton and Barack Obama town hall like protester interaction that I've ever fucking seen, and they get it right every time. Whether or not people see past their ideological or their racist, biases to see that they get it right. But no, they get it right every single time. But I do agree that Harris got it wrong that time. But I also like to just make the point that a lot of people like don't care. And I think that
you're 100% right.
There's a lot to analyze with that, to Eddie's point.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous.
A lot to analyze with that.
I think it's really dangerous that people like that behavior from her. But what's up, Josh?
I don't think it was like the worst thing in the world. Like, it's not the, it was like, this is just dangerous that people like this, man. Like, I mean, bro, like she has plenty of other clips and times where she's chopping people off professionally, like in a manner which you would have liked to see her done in that moment. Like, I mean, shit, she might have been caught off guard. Like I don't know, the damn light bulbs might not have been connecting that day to chop a crowd off while they was like screaming like obscenities at her while she was doing a speech that was focused on this thing and trying to get this thing out. I'll give grace on that. That's all I can say is I'll give grace on that. And then you said she got it right later.
Yeah. My issue is much less with her answering incorrectly and doing the wrong thing than it is with people lifting that up as if it's good. That's my main
lift up the most bullshit. Sorry to interrupt you, but
and that's what I'm criticizing, and that's why I say it's dangerous, because when I say it's dangerous, I'm gonna increase the strength of my stance there. I think it's really dangerous because I think when we take like cult of personality, MAGA approaches to politicians that a lot of people who are voting for Trump are, and we try and apply it to what our values are, what we end up getting is a politician who maybe says some of the right things, is maybe charming, and then goes back to blowing up babies, putting our people in prison, fucking making it to where we can't feed our families just the same, but with a slightly different aesthetic. And that's danger. I don't care about a charming politician. I care about how you write into legislation the fabric of our lived lives. And if we're in 2028 and we're all still poor, hungry, being killed by police officers, but we got a black woman in office and she says the right things and she's really charming, that's dangerous. And I think responding to her dismissing protesters who were trying to pressure her to, in this case, put an arms embargo in place, that's life-endingly dangerous.
I
also think that, like, and the example that I came kind of armed with is specifically in regards to, say, like, police presence, right? And bear with me on this one. So when you look on the internet in regards to Atlanta specifically, and we all know this area intricately, Atlanta specifically, and you hear stuff about Cop City and you hear about adding police presence and all that kind of stuff in the city. If you look on the internet, this is you'd assume that's extremely unpopular. Then you look at the actual platforms of every mayor of the city of Atlanta, at least since Bill Campbell, and all of them have ran on a platform. The winners and their opponents have ran on platforms of increasing police presence, increasing police numbers, increasing police pay. And if you go to, say, town halls, because where I'm from, they used to run town halls at Roselle Fan, formerly Southeast Recreation Center. And you talk to the old people in these crime-ridden neighborhoods, and they all want more police.
Yep.
Right? They all want more police. Like, let's tackle that in. So, like, if you are a mayor trying to win in Atlanta, and you don't say that you're increasing police presence, you will lose. So, all that to say is, I think that when you highlight the danger of the rhetoric, I think you also need to highlight that there are a lot of people who that actually support those things, right? So there are a lot of people who support Israel. There's a decent percentage of people who actually don't even have that, even if they don't necessarily blatantly support Israel, who don't even have that as a top 3 like concern, right? Most people's top concern is actually the economy. To your point, my ultimate point is that sometimes it's not look at Harris smacking him down for a girl boss. Sometimes it's like, look at Harris subtly supporting the policy that I subtly support. So I think that that's probably the more dangerous thing than the cult of personality danger.
Okay, I think that's a great point too. Yeah, I think a lot of people are like, because. Like, Harris is cool. She's cool. She's got way more charisma than Hillary did in terms of, like, a woman running her. I think that she's gonna win. Like, it looks
she's
good
winning. She's winning again. A lot of time, but the polls look promising.
May I real quick, because her and her team made a phenomenal choice, in my personal opinion, with the vice president pick.
He's funny.
Yes. I mean, he's good. The guy's good. He fucking reminds me of John McCain mixed in with a little bit of Bernie Sanders.
Interesting.
That is the weirdest dichotomy to draw for any single person.
But do you see where I'm coming
Adolf
from?
Linkler.
That's literally what you. And I don't even dislike John McCain. John McCain almost passed what I would consider the singular most important piece of legislation in modern American history. So I'm not like anti John McCain or anything. But like those two things, like you couldn't pick further apart. Like you would have had to pick Hitler. You would have had to go Ronald Reagan.
See, like y'all, like, look.
No, he's speaking facts. That's why he said it. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, right, like, okay, so like he looks kind of like John McCain to me, but his policies are a little Bernie Sanderish. Like
he gives down home country fishing and, like, fishing and hunting kind of a guy.
A little bit, so insane and just fucking sane, like relatively liberal when it comes to, like, sex, race. Well, from what he's presenting, like this could just be all a fucking show. But hey, I appreciate
it's not. His policies are extremely leftist.
It's cool beans. So removing the racist Massachusetts flag behind him, then putting in even though it looked kind of lamer, but it was like more plain. But putting the non-racist one back and saying that's better, and that was just the end of the fucking clip. This nigga ain't say shit after that. But
his policies. He's putting his money where his mouth is. The one thing I like about him is I often say, and I quote Chris Rock when I say this, is Trump is what you get when a bunch of fake bullies don't know how to handle it when a real bully shows up. So he ran roughshod through the GOP because all of these fake bullies and these coddled motherfuckers like didn't know how to handle a motherfucker that was gonna say the shit that he did and bolster the way that he did. They didn't know how to handle it. I think Hillary Clinton could handle it because she bodied him in every interview. Like, she's extremely smarter. She's way smarter than this motherfucker, but she's a woman. So when you have a Tim Walz that's willing to push those buttons, who's intelligent, who's like who knows how to handle a bully, but he's a white man, then I think that's a recipe for success.
Yeah,
because that's how Joe Biden won like that election the first time. It was he go to these like plants and like people would challenge him on policy, you know, and he'd be like, he's like, bro, that's bullshit. Everything you just said is bullshit. Like, straight to their face, and they'd be like, he's a tough guy. I can relate to him. So I think you have the policy to back up what Walz does, but he also has that kind of I'm a football player kind of mentality about him that's going to resonate with the he's a guy's guy.
He said, "I'll debate him if he can get up off the couch to do it." I was like, "Okay, we're having a fun time again. We got some funny Democrats again. That's good." It's just been feeling kind of lame for a while.
He's gonna play saxophone in Arsenio, and he's gonna win the black vote. You know, like,
hey, look, like Hillary said when she pulled out the hot sauce, is it working? Like, people like charm.
He's gonna pull out the drums.
Yeah. Well, look, folks, I think we'll call it there. Hey, if you see your daughter walking out of your neighbor's house with her clothes all fucked up, wig on backwards, you might be seeing a red flag. But at the same time, if you're giving compliments to your partner about how much you didn't want to fuck them, it might be you that's waving the red flag. It's been Waving the Red Flag podcast. It's been your boy Eddie. It's been Josh. It's been Alvin. You know what I'm saying? If y'all want bonus content, if you want to be part of the lives, if you want to have in-depth conversations about the things we've talked about in the podcast with us directly, hop on the Discord channel, which you can get by joining as a member on Spotify, Patreon, YouTube. Grab a deck of the card game for your next dinner party, cookout, you know what I'm saying, all of that. And subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments. This has been the episode. We'll see y'all next week. You know what I'm saying? Vote your conscience. Vote your conscience.
Do that. Hey, yo, I ain't gonna hold you, bro.
What's up?
When you was talking about them protesters with Kamala, I ain't know what the hell they was protesting. I didn't know they was like pro Palestine. But all right, that changed some things a little bit. So I see where you're coming from a little bit more. But all right, I got you.
See how dangerous it is? She's so charming. We was like, man, shut up about them babies.
You know, I wasn't worried about the charm because I didn't really, just like
this nigga Josh saw the smooth smile and the strong girl boss pantsuit, and he was just like, oh shit,
that's a fucking honeypot, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
What am I supposed to do with that?
We got to paint them Tomahawk missiles powder pink, and it's all right.
Hey, hell yeah, shit. Replace the NFL with powder puff football.
That was a thing, didn't they have XFL and it was just Hooters, but with like shoulder pads?
Yes.
Yeah.
I still got it. But like even in high school, though, it was like the girls like would play football and call it powder puff, and the guys would play like the cheerleaders.
Yeah.
They don't do that no more. It's probably
Is it considered
probably call it something different?
Okay.
Yeah. Equality Day.
Equality Day. That definitely sounds like a 2000s attempted.
2020.
Wouldn't it be so wild if boys did a girl thing and girls did a boy thing?
To show that we're all equal.
Yeah.
To show that we're all the same.
Top tier B-roll, man. Just like cut this into the front of the episode. Good job.
Oh yeah. I got to. All right. And then recording.